They came home with calloused hands, sharpened instincts, and a knowledge of construction that no peacetime school had ever taught. The soldiers who survived the First and Second World Wars didn't just carry rifles. They carried the accumulated engineering wisdom of years spent building survival infrastructure under enemy fire. When they finally walked back through the doors of bombed-out towns and shell-shocked communities, they brought something invaluable with them, the ability to build a livable world from almost nothing. This is the story of how wartime fieldcraft became the foundation of post-war civilization. From the trenches to the toolbox. Picture the Western Front, 1916. The air is thick with the smell of wet clay, cordite, and unwashed wool. Beneath the constant percussion of artillery, men are not simply fighting, they are building. Every trench system is an act of improvised engineering, a city of mud constructed under impossible conditions. Soldiers learn to shore up collapsing earthen walls with timber frames, to angle dugout roofs so rain runs off rather than pooling overhead, and to lay duckboard paths across waterlogged ground that would otherwise swallow a man to his knees. These weren't skills taught in any manual, they were learned by necessity, refined by failure, and passed between men in the quiet moments between barrages. By the time the guns fell silent, an entire generation had been forged into instinctive builders, men who understood load-bearing, drainage, insulation, and rapid assembly at a bone-deep level. The prefab revolution, born in the field. When British soldiers returned after 1945, they carried with them a direct familiarity with the Nissen hut, that elegant, brutal solution to mass shelter, semicircular, corrugated iron, assembled in hours by a small crew. These structures had housed hundreds of thousands of troops across every theatre of war, and the men who'd lived in them knew precisely how they went together. It was natural, almost inevitable, that this knowledge would seed Britain's post-war prefabrication movement. Over 156,000 factory-made prefab homes were constructed across Britain in the late 1940s, and behind that statistic are the fingerprints of military engineering logic: modular components, standardized dimensions, rapid on-site assembly, the same thinking that produced the Bailey Bridge, a system of pre-engineered steel panels that Royal Engineers could assemble across a 40-foot river gap in a single night, was now being applied to family homes in Birmingham and Bristol. Salvage as survival. In the bombed ruins of European cities, scarcity created a form of fieldcraft all its own. Soldiers turned builders did what they had always done behind enemy lines. They scavenged, assessed, and repurposed. Steel beams were pulled from collapsed buildings and incorporated into new foundations. Roof timber was graded, cut, and reused. Concrete rubble was crushed and packed as hard core beneath new floors. This was not desperation, it was discipline. The same mentality that had soldiers stripping usable wire from no man's land or salvaging ammunition from fallen comrades now drove an entire reconstruction economy. Nothing with structural value was wasted. Every material told a second story. The human blueprint, perhaps the most powerful legacy, wasn't the buildings themselves, but the transfer of knowledge. Veterans ran informal self-build programs, teaching neighbours, family members, and young men the same techniques they'd used to keep each other alive and sheltered in the field. A wall isn't just a wall when the man explaining it once built one to stop shrapnel. That knowledge carries weight, literal and moral. Why this still matters. The world these men rebuilt didn't last forever, but the principles they used are timeless. Modularity, resourcefulness, community-driven construction. The ability to assess what you have, understand what you need, and build the gap between them. These are not merely historical curiosities. They are the bedrock of every serious bushcraft and preparedness philosophy practiced today. When you learn to build a debris shelter, you are learning what a Somme veteran knew instinctively. When you practice improvised construction with salvaged materials, you are walking a path they carved under far harder circumstances. That lineage deserves to be remembered, studied, and carried forward. If this episode opened your eyes to the engineering genius hiding in wartime history, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this video with someone who values history, self-reliance, and the craft of building something that lasts. Every share helps keep this kind of forgotten knowledge alive. We'll see you in the next one.